nerds, what's up? Now that the booktubeathon has ended, I can finally wrap up my month of July, which won't include any of the books that I read for the booktubeathon because I finished all of them in August. But let's just get right on into everything I read in the month of July. So I read 7 books in the month of July. I read 1 ebook, 5 physical books, and 1 audiobook. I was also listening to another audiobook, but I have yet to finish it. I read 2 nonfiction books. I read 1 graphic novel. I read 3 adult books, 4 young adult books, including the audiobook that I didn't finish this month, but for what I did read, I read 2,751 pages. I also gave 5 5 stars and 2 4 stars, so I had a really good reading month. I'm also like, I need to consider how I rate books, but that's a whole nother video, so we're not gonna do that. Starting with The Wicked Deep, this was our group book for the biannual bibliothon, so there is a live show on the bibliothon channel with me in it, so I will link that in the cards as well as down below if you want to go check it out and watch me, Brittany, Red, and Sierra was there as well, but she didn't read it, so she was just chilling. We discussed the book in detail and everything, but I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved the atmosphere of this book. I loved the idea of what the book was about. I think that some of the execution of it wasn't fantastic, but I give a lot of it a pass because this is Shea Ernshaw's first ever debut novel, and so, you know, you gotta be willing to cut the newbies slack because it's hard to write a book. I know, I've tried, I fail every time, so I know that it's hard, and so I give a lot of that some slack, and I can't wait to see what Shea Ernshaw comes out with next. She actually just announced that there are 2 more books in this world that she has plotted out, so if she gets a book deal, she'll make them. Also, just like, the cover is beautiful, both this one and this one, like, amazing. This book is about a town in which 200 years ago the town drowned these 3 sisters for being witches, and now every year they come back from the dead and they haunt the town. They take over 3 girls' bodies, and then they also murder boys that are all in the teenage age range. And so that's like where our story starts. It's really like mysterious and intriguing. Did see the plot twist coming, but that didn't bother me, whereas I know that Red and Brittany, for example, those who were in the live show, they didn't like that they saw it all coming. I liked it. I think it was really cool. I love that witches are coming back into theme here. Like, it's getting more and more popular. I really like that. Speaking of witches, the next 4 out of 5 stars book I read was Labyrinth Lost. I had this physically, but I ended up reading it. I ended up getting it from the library, so I had to give it back. But this is the first book of Zoraida Cordova's in the Bruja Sisters series, I think, and this follows a girl named Alex who has an older sister and a younger sister, and they're all brujas, which basically means they're witches. Alex is really afraid of her power. She has been hiding the fact that her power has come to be, and her older sister is a healer just like her mom. Her dad disappeared when they were young, and her youngest sister already has her powers manifested, and she can see, she's a seer, so she sees ghosts and stuff, and so she's really afraid of her power, and she tries to banish her power and basically get rid of it, and in doing so she ends up banishing her entire family to Los Lagos, which is kind of like the in-between of like where the dead people go. Like, it's not heaven, it's not hell, it's like it's this other place where there are other beings too, and so then she has to go save her family. And I really loved this story. There's a female-female romance in it. However, I found that the female-female romance was almost too subtle. It was like so subtle that I couldn't tell the entire book if it was female friendship or if it was romance until the very end when they kiss. And so I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I found that kind of annoying. I did really like there's a male main character named Nova. I really liked his character. The things that I didn't love about this story was some of the plot twists. Some of the things that happened in this book I really saw coming really early on, and so I just found it like how do these characters not know that they're doing things that are gonna get them in trouble? I still really enjoyed it. I'm currently reading the sequel, Brujaborn by Zoraida Cordova, and I'm enjoying that as well, but we'll talk about that more in the next wrap up. Moving on to all of my 5-star books. Holy crap, I read a lot of them. So I want to start off with the ones that I don't have physically. So I read Doing It by Hannah Witton, which this was an ebook and this was also nonfiction. And this is a book just all about sex and relationships and healthy relationships and all of that good stuff, and I just love me some educational reading every once in a while, especially in regards to sex and sexuality. I think that it's so important that these books are being made and becoming accessible to teens and people who, you know, don't have access to that information necessarily from their schools, and so they're getting it in an educational way in other formats. And I really love that there are people out there that are making that happen, and so this was great. Hannah Witton is a YouTuber, if you didn't know. She talks about all sorts of stuff on her channel, and she has talked about sex and sex positivity and stuff like that. She actually just recently went through a colonectomy, which means that she got rid of her colon and she now has a stoma, which is a bag. It's basically a poo bag outside of your body, and she talks about it, and she just recently did a sexy lingerie photo shoot with her stoma. I just love her. Hannah Witton, go support her, go do everything for her, she's amazing. The next book that I don't have physically here was Persepolis by Marlaine Satrapi, and I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but this is my graphic novel. It's also an adult book and a memoir, so it's nonfiction as well, and I did read this physically, but I had it from the library, so again, I don't have it anymore. But this book is all about her memoir, and so it's about this woman who grew up in Tehran during the Islamic Revolution, and it's all about basically her life. It's technically 2 books, but they're bound in one, and so the first one is more about her young childhood and the second one is more about her young adulthood. And I really liked this. It was amazing. I didn't love the art style, but it was not that important in the grand scheme of things, so I really liked the way that it was written and everything, and just hands down amazing. Again, I love every once in a while to pick up something educational and learning and stuff, and so this was a nice little reprieve from all the fiction. And yeah, I really liked this. Pick it up if you want to learn more about the Islamic Revolution going on in Tehran, or that went on in Tehran, I should say. The next 2 books are very similar in the general plot, and so I'm going to kind of talk about them at the same time, but not really. So the first one is When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon, which is the Sassy Book Club book of the month for July, and our live show is August 9th, which is Thursday, so tomorrow when you're seeing this, at 6 p.m. PST on my channel. So come on back tomorrow and talk about When Dimple Met Rishi with us. There's a bunch of YouTubers who are going to be involved. Christina from Christina's Journey, Laura from Lovely Like Laura, Momo from The BookTube Girl, A from Avid Reader Library, and lastly Cav from The Reading Solace. So we're all going to be discussing this book on my channel tomorrow at 6 p.m. PST, so please come join us. And then the other book that I have here, so this is a young adult. The other book that I have here is When Katie Met Cassidy by Camille Perri, and this is an adult novel, and it is a female-female romance. So this one is all about like Indian culture. The boy and the girl, both Indian families, both of their families decide that they want them to meet to attempt an arranged marriage, and the boy is all about it. He's so excited, Rishi, and then Dimple is like, not about that life, no sir, I want to go to Stanford and I want to get my career started, and I don't want to maybe even ever get married, let alone get married anytime soon. And so little does she know that Rishi agrees to go to the same science camp that she's going to, or excuse me, not science, but it's a STEM camp, and they meet there and things go from there. This book is about a girl named Katie who gets dumped by her fiance, who's a boy, and Cassidy is another woman who works in with her but not in the same office, and she is an outright lesbian, always going to the gay bars, never has one girlfriend for too long, so she's kind of sexually promiscuous as well, and they end up meeting. Cassie takes her out and they end up forming a relationship. Both of these books were so good in different ways. I read this one and then immediately read this one, and so like it's very hard to compare them because they are so different. They're very different walks of life for these two. These two characters are just finishing high school, just starting college, and the conflict arises more from their culture. And then this one is very adult. They're set in their careers. That is not a problem. What the conflict more stems from is Katie not really knowing her sexuality and Cassie not really knowing how to be in a long-term relationship. And I highly recommend both of these books. They're both so good. Read them both. My last 5-star book of the month was my one audiobook that I finished over July, and it was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This book a lot of people know about. The third one just came out recently, A Reaper in the Gates. I have the first two. I have A Torch Against the Night here as well. This is about a girl whose brother gets taken by the government, and so in order to save him, she joins up with the rebels, and they send her in to become a slave in this like high-ranking woman's department, basically, so that she can gain information on this tournament thing that's happening. And then the boy is a mask, so basically he's kind of like an assassin for the government, and he is the son of the woman who she is enslaved to, and he is in this tournament trying to win to become emperor, except he doesn't really want to be an emperor. He kind of wants to escape and run away from being a mask, let alone the emperor, and their lives get twisted into each other's, and this book is like really hard to explain without spoiling anything, but it's complicated, it's political. It was really good, and I highly recommend the audio of it. So those are the 7 books I read in the month of July. I can't believe we're in August. Like, it's seriously August 2018. I'm not okay with that. But yeah, those are the 7 books I read in July. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite book of the month was. And did you read any of these? Have you read any of them? Are you gonna join me tomorrow for the live show? Because I really want to talk about When Dimple Met Rishi. It was so good. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys very soon with a new video, as well as tomorrow during the live show for When Dimple Met Rishi. Hashtag Sassy Book Club. Our August book is going to be The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So if you want to join us for that, all the information for Sassy Book Club is always right down below. So you can follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Goodreads, you can follow me on all my social media because I always tweet it anyway. And I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye!